This NFL Week 11 pregame show edition of the NFL Gambling Podcast on the Sports Gambling Podcast Network is brought to you by Bet365. Bet365 is offering new users a $1,000 risk-free bet. Sign up today at sportsgamblingpodcast.com/bet365. We're also brought to you by Hall of Fame Bets, the sports betting research platform for parlays, player props, and game lines. Download the Hall of Fame Bets app or visit HOFBets.com and use promo code SGPN to get 50% off your first month and start making smarter bets today. Welcome, everyone, to the NFL Gambling Podcast, part of the Sports Gambling Podcast Network. NFL Week 11 is upon us, and we are here for our weekly pregame show for the NFL Gambling Podcast and Week 11. And joining me here to help me break it all down, you guys know him as the voice of the NBA Gambling Podcast, the MLB Gambling Podcast, and of course here on the NFL Gambling Podcast, it's Lante Smith. Lante, how's it going this Sunday morning, my man?
You ready for Thanksgiving? I see. Yeah, it's going well, man. Pretty good. Just ready to get into it. Hopefully, we can. I think we've been doing all right on the show with a lot of these props and touchdown props. So yeah, looking forward to getting into it for Week 11.
Yeah, I mean, I think we've been real well with our player props here on the pregame show. So, hopefully we can continue that here for the Week 11 schedule. And I know there's teams that are on bye weeks this week. I forgot which teams are actually on bye weeks this week, but I don't think it really matters. But a lot of intriguing matchups as well here. So we'll go through, as we usually do, the latest injury news for most of these teams. I didn't see a lot going on as far as injury news. And then obviously we'll discuss player props for each game, and then we'll put together our anytime touchdown parlay at the end of the episode, and then also our PrizePicks entry for the Week 11 schedule as well. Let's dive right into it, man. Let's get over to the first game. We'll go over to the Cleveland Browns. They are hosting the Pittsburgh Steelers. A battle of 6-3 teams during this course of the season. Obviously, the big news here for the Cleveland Browns, Deshaun Watson is going to be missing the rest of the season with a shoulder injury, but it's going to be Dorian Thompson-Robinson that's going to begin the start here for the Cleveland Browns and not PJ Walker. Also, for the Pittsburgh Steelers, Jaylen Warren has now been, I think, named the starting running back for the Pittsburgh Steelers. We'll see what the snap counts look like for both Najee Harris and Jaylen Warren. But as of right now, Jaylen Warren has been classified as the starting running back for this Pittsburgh Steelers team. So a couple of injury notes here. Let's start here with the Steelers. Keanu Reeves was placed on IR safety for the Pittsburgh Steelers with some ribs injury. Pratt Fairmouth also might be returning here for the my screen goes blank for the Pittsburgh Steelers in this game. For the Cleveland Browns, let's see here. Obviously, like I mentioned, no Deshaun Watson. Anything else for the Cleveland Browns? I know they had some injuries on the offensive line. Dwan Jones is listed questionable ahead of Sunday's game against the Steelers, and then Michael Dunn, guard, has been activated off of the injured reserve. So getting one offensive tackle back are the Cleveland Browns. Total in this game here, Lante is sitting at 33. That's like a preseason total, man. So this is going to be pretty much of a rock fight. So maybe looking at a lot of unders in this games or rush attempts, things like that. But what are you looking at as far as player props? You're now look up the weather in this game as well.
Yeah, we've seen last week we were talking about the Cleveland Baltimore game being a rock fight, and they end up scoring like 60 plus points combined.
Yeah.
So maybe we can speak that into existence here. But I like two things, one on each side. I like DTR over 23.5 rushing yards. Pittsburgh's 24th rushing yards allowed. They haven't faced a ton of mobile quarterbacks, but when they have some success. Watson in week 1, he had 6 for 22. Lamar had 40 plus in week 5. I think that the game plan is going to be to use DTR more so use his legs more so than his arms. Maybe when using the quick pass game, the screen game, and of course getting Amari Cooper the ball. He's had a week to prepare. It's not like early on in the season when he was kind of just bumped in to the starting role. Didn't have any preparation. So all the coaching staff has showed some I guess some support behind him. I mean, of course, what are you going to do? Not support your guy, but I've just been hearing good things about his preparation this week. I think he's going to be able to use his legs a lot. So I like him over 23.5 rushing yards. On the other side, I'm going to go with Pickens over 35.5 receiving yards. I think that's kind of short. He leads the team in receptions and yards. Um, he had 6 for 86 in the last 3 games combined. In the previous 2 games before that, he had 11 for 237. So I'm looking for somewhat in the middle here for him to get going. Deontay Johnson has a thumb injury, which could probably limit him. I think he was limited in practice Tuesday, and then he practiced in full Wednesday. But it's gonna be hard to catch the ball with a thumb injury, especially in the weather that is Cleveland. I mean, it's probably not going to be super cold as it would be next month, but I think that will play a factor here. So give me Pickens over 35.5 receiving yards, DTR over 23.5 rushing yards.
Yeah, I gave out DTR over rushing yards on the prop guess, and that was at 18.5.
Oh
So
shoot.
yeah,
No,
that
I'm
number
behind,
has
man. I'm
yeah,
behind.
money has come in definitely on DTR's over on his rushing yards. It makes a lot of sense as well, right? Because and you would probably know better than I that he was a scrambling quarterback in his days at UCLA. And then he had one start earlier this season where he had 4 carries for 24 yards. And I think he had one game as well in the preseason where he went over this projection as well. So, yeah, that was the one I was looking at in this game between the Steelers. Other than that, I really didn't have anything in this game. Lonzo, let's get over to the next game here, man. Or sorry, let me go back to the weather in this game. It's going to be at 48 degrees in Cleveland. No precipitation or any wind concerns here, but maybe a little bit chilly if you're a person that lives in the south and you think 48 is cold. But typical, I guess, Cleveland weather in this game for the matchup between the Steelers and the Cleveland Browns. Our next game on the board here, Lancha, let's get over to my Houston Texans. They are going to be hosting the Arizona Cardinals. And right now, this line has moved in favor of the Texans at -5.5. Total is sitting at 48 in this game. Latest injury report: Michael Wilson, wide receiver, is listed as questionable, but is expected to suit up against the Texans today. And then Zach Pascal, wide receiver, has been ruled out. He's dealing with a hamstring injury. Joey Blunt, safety, is also ruled out, and Amari DiMarcardo has been ruled out as well. He's dealing with a toe injury. Obviously, Kyler Murray returned last week for the Arizona Cardinals. Looked pretty good in that game for the Arizona Cardinals. On the Texans side, Noah Brown is going to be out for this game for the Texans. He's dealing with a knee injury, so expect a heavy load for, or more targets, I should say, for Nico Collins and also my guy Tank Dell and also Dalton Schultz as well. Will Anderson is also listed as questionable for Sunday's game here against against the Cardinals. Jimmy Ward, safety, has also been ruled out. He's dealing with a hamstring injury, and Damian Pierce is also going to be out of this game for the Texans. So Devin Singletary Day again for the Houston Texans. So Texans dealing with some injuries both on the offense and defense side of the football. Right now, -5.5 in favor of the Texans. Nothing of weather to report because they do play in a dome. But player props in this game here, Lonte. What are we looking at?
Yeah, this was a tougher game for me. I only had one. I like McBride over 55.5 receiving yards. He's at 21 receptions in his last 3 games. He's over this number in 3 of his last 5. And if you look at what Houston's have given up to the tight end, we saw Hudson for Cincinnati last week, 6 for 33. Cade Otton for Tampa, he went 6 for 70 and 2 touchdowns. Taysom Hill, I mean, I wouldn't classify him as a tight end, but I think he's kind of a hybrid, I guess. He had 7 for 49. And Kyle Pitts and Jonathan Smith had 13 for 154 combined. So I think Trey McBride is going to have a big game here. Probably would ladder him up to 75, 85 plus. Kyler was pretty comfortable throwing it to him over the middle. I think he had double-digit targets in that game. So I think the success that they've had with McBride and the lack of success that Houston's defense have had with defending tight ends. I think that plays a big part here. So I like McBride over 55.5 receiving yards.
Yeah, I don't hate that. Again, you take a look at what he's been able to do over the past several weeks for this Cardinals offense, and I think it was also a breath of fresh air that like you mentioned, Kyler Murray was finding
Mhm.
him last week. 9 targets, 8 receptions, 131 yards, along of 33 for Trey McBride. I'm looking at Tank Dell. Going back to Tank Dell, I got this at 55.5. That number's now up to 59.5. I'll still play it there. Um, and I'm pulling up the numbers without Noah Brown in the lineup. So earlier this season, Noah Brown was put on the IR. I think it was after week 1. So about weeks 2 through 6, Noah Brown was out, and that's when Tank Dell really stepped up for this Texans team. He had 72 receiving yards, 145 receiving yards, 16 and then 57 in 3 games. 3 of the 4 games, I would say, without Noah Brown there. He got over those projections. So currently on Bet 365. Let me see what the number is here. Tank Dell. Where's Tank Dell? Player receiving yards. Tank Dell is 59.5 there, and minus 110. So I do like that. Other than that, I think that was pretty much it. What do you think of Kyler's rushing yards?
Yeah, I don't hate it at all. I mean, he looked like the old. I mean, he just looked like nothing had happened. He was still running around. I was kind of weary of taking his rushing yards last
Yeah.
week, but I did. He ended up rushing for I think like 60, if I'm not mistaken. But yeah, I mean, and he had a big scramble to get him in field goal range that last drive. So
Yeah.
yeah, man, I couldn't shy you off of it. Is it like 45?
33.5.
Oh yeah, that might be
I
short.
think he had 36 last week, right? Let
I'm
me
pretty sure.
see here.
I thought he had more than that, to be honest.
Let's see
But I could be
here.
wrong though.
Kyler Murray last week, scrimmage yards, 6 for 33.
Yeah, okay, not bad. Yeah. So
So the attempts are going
yeah,
to be there.
yeah, I don't hate that. I mean, you said the Texans are having some D line issues as well. So yeah, he might
Mhm.
escape out. How are your corners? I don't know how good the corners is. I know Stingley is working his way back. So I'm
Yeah.
not sure how the
So
secondary will hold up.
yeah, they haven't been playing very well. I mean, over the last 2 weeks, they've been giving up the points, right? We saw they give them 37 to Baker Mayfield and the Buccaneers.
Yeah.
And then last week, the Bengals, they gave up 27 points for them. Fortunately for us, the offense was that much better to get those victories. But I think this might just be another Texans shootout type of game, what we've seen over the last 2 weeks, especially with Kyler Murray being back.
Yeah.
And we know what CJ Stroud has been able to do at the course of the season, especially over the last 2 weeks for this Texans offense. So I don't know if Brown's not going to be there, but Nico Collins is back. You still have Tank Dell, you still have Dalton Schultz, and Devin Singletary's a pretty good pass catching back as well. So I don't hate that for as far as looking at the over in this game, especially I think is one of the highest ones
Yeah.
on the board here tonight at
Yeah.
48. So
Yeah, it's a step down
yeah, good.
in wide receiver competition though, because I mean, you said you're going against Chase, Higgins, Boyd,
Yeah.
and then before that, Evans, Godwin, and like so. I mean, the Cardinals don't have a ton of receivers that can that scare me anyway. But yeah, I might look at Kyler over.
Yeah, I might take a look at Texans team total to go over then. Again, I just feel like that running game is pretty much non-existent right now. I think Devin Singletary did pretty well last week.
What's up with Pierce? When's he coming back?
So he's dealing with that ankle injury. I think I wouldn't be surprised if they put him on the IR.
Oh wow,
Yeah, I wouldn't be surprised. He's just not. I thought he would have a big year this year
me
in
too. I
his
took him
second
high in my
year.
fantasy drafts, man.
Yeah, but he hasn't. I don't think he has one touchdown on the season, 327 rushing yards. He was only averaging 3 yards per carry. So,
Yeah.
yeah, we'll see what happens with him. All right, let's get over to the next game here. A battle of NFC North teams. We got the Chicago Bears. They are in the Motor City to take on the Detroit Lions. Lions currently are sitting as I think it's 8 points now. That number has come down a little bit. Yeah, 8 points in favor of the Detroit Lions. Getting to the injury report here. Obviously, nothing for weather because they do play in a dome. Let's start here with the Chicago Bears. We do see Justin Fields returning today for the Chicago Bears at the quarterback position. Edmonds, linebacker, is questionable for this game against the Lions. Dante Foreman is also questionable here for the Bears as well. He's dealing with an ankle injury, and that is pretty much it for the Detroit Lions. Let's see here. For the Lions, I am seeing CJ Garner Johnson, safety, is on the IR. Isaiah Buggs, defensive end, has been ruled out. Jonah Jackson, guard, has been ruled out as well. Um, Vaitai back is unlikely to play again this season. Wow, for the um, Detroit Lions, a couple of injuries on their offensive line here. So let's see if the Bears can take advantage of that. So, Lante, all right, let's get to play props here, man. What are we thinking?
Yeah, I think the Bears are live in this game actually, to win with all the problems they've had with the offensive line. This is I seen ESPN, I think, tweet this out. This is three sets of brothers playing in this game. The Sewell brothers, uh, Amara and Aquimius, and two DNs. I can't remember their last names, but yeah, that's pretty. I thought that was pretty
Mm.
unique. But I like Goff over his passing yards, 275 and a half. 333, 272, 279, 353 in three of his last four. Chicago is really strong up front with the run. I think they're top 6 or 7 in rushing yards allowed. They're 26th in passing yards allowed. If you look at some of the quarterbacks who have had success against them, I mean, Herbert threw for 298 in a blowout. Howell threw for 358. And I thought that was pretty easy. I think Goff is going to have success here through the air. The running backs, I mean, they've been running the ball well. I just think that Chicago is an underrated. They have an underrated front seven, so I think they might be able to limit Montgomery and Gibbs. I think that puts the ball in Jared Goff's hands more. And what better way to do it than against the 26th ranked passing yard, 26th ranked pass defense? So I think Goff has a great game here. Wouldn't be surprised if he hits 300. So Goff over 275 and a half passing yards.
Hey, take a look at the schedule of quarterbacks that the Bears have faced, man. It's been pretty easy.
Yeah.
But the legitimate quarterbacks that they have faced, Patrick Mahomes threw for 300 yards, Justin Herbert 298. But some of the other quarterbacks, week one, Jordan Love, he had that great game, probably his best game of the season, 245 for 3 touchdowns. Baker Mayfield even threw for 317 yards against his Bears defense. And then you had Russell Wilson, you had Sam Howell, threw for 388. Kirk Cousins, I think that was an outdoor game. I want to say, but he didn't have a great game. He was 181. Aiden O'Connell they faced with Brian Hoyer. They combined for 204. Derek Carr 211, and then last week with Bryce Young 185. So I think we can definitely say that Jared Goff is an above average quarterback in this league, especially with the Detroit Lions and the system that he is in there. So I do like that. What are your thoughts on David Montgomery going against his former team?
Yeah, I mean, I don't know about the share, like the split the shares, like the carries,
With Jimmy
because I
Gibbs,
mean
yeah.
he had his stat line looked good, but he had that big run last week, so it
Mhm.
wasn't really like he was slicing them up for 4 or 5 yards of carry. He had that big run, and I think he might have had like a couple of other carries that 5 and 6 and it added up, but it's hard for me to take the running backs because I don't know what they're gonna do. I mean, if I think in an interview that Gibbs was saying like they're cool with if Montgomery breaks off for a 60-yard run, he doesn't want to get in to take a touchdown. He wants Montgomery to stay in and vice versa. So I mean, it's kind of hard for me to do that with the rotating backfield, but I do think that Gibbs could have a decent game with his receiving yards here if he puts him in the slot. If they put him on the field at the same time, I think Ben Johnson does a good job of getting Gibbs in space and especially splitting them out on the opposite side of St. Brown to kind of make the defense spread out a little bit more. So yeah, I would look at Gibbs receiving yards as well, but Montgomery, I mean the rushing yards, I just don't know about it.
Yeah, I think we also should probably look at Amon St. Brown in this game. He's at 83 and a half. He's had 4 straight games of 100 plus receiving yards. We know the targets are going to be there for him as well. 9, 9, 19, 15 over the last 4
Crazy,
weeks.
crazy.
He had 2 games in there. We had 13 and 12 receptions. And we'll see how he has done against the Bears.
You think he has a shot for offensive player of the year?
No, I think it's who's the favorite right now? Probably Tyreek Hill,
Yeah, I
right?
think Cheetah is the
AJ
favorite.
Brown's probably up there as well.
Yeah, I mean, St. Brown is man. He's not far behind.
I don't think
Well,
so either.
not Tariq, but I think like you mentioned, he's had 100 yards in every game, but I think two,
Yeah.
and he missed a
Um,
game. I think he missed a game or two, if I'm not mistaken.
I think he missed one or two in there.
Yeah,
But also, I
but
think that if this team is going to have a lot of success and
right,
they win this division, I think
right.
that um, Dave Campbell's probably going to end up getting that Coach of the Year award.
Yeah,
Now, I don't
that's
know if they'll like reward multiple awards to the same team, right?
yeah, that's fair. That's fair.
Because right now, Tyreek Hill and Christian McCaffrey are tied for at plus 125, and then AJ Brown's 5-1, and the CeeDee Lamb, like we discussed, that monster. We'll get to. I know we'll talk about CeeDee Lamb here in a couple of minutes, but he's up to 20-1. I mean, if you want to get down to 5-1 right now, I mean, I think if he continues what he's doing and getting over these, 5, 6 straight games of over
Yeah,
100 plus receiving yards, I think that's definitely an opportunity that at
yeah,
75-1. I mean, if you want to sprinkle on that.
yeah, not bad.
All right. Yeah, I'll probably look at St. Brown over 83.5 receiving yards in this game. Also look at his receptions in this game. Let me see what I can find as far as
I'm pretty sure it's like 5.5,
receptions.
6.
Yeah, I want to be surprised if it's like 6.5, even
Yeah,
7.
yeah, that's true.
Let's see here. Yeah, 6.5 minus 140.
So
I
7
mean,
basically.
I don't hate it at that number. All right, anything else for this game, Lante?
Nah, that's it.
All right, let's get over to the next game. Let's go to your Giants. They are in the nation's capital, kind of taking on the Commanders. Commanders currently sitting as a 9.5 point favorite. Let me see if that's the updated line right now.
Yeah, it
Oh,
should
that's
be. I think it's like 9.5. It's
yeah, I
like
think it came down to
split.
9.
Yeah.
So I guess the money coming in on your
It's gotta be
Giants here.
it's gotta be Kramer. It's not my money. It's definitely not my money. It's definitely not my money.
Looking at the injury report, let's get over to the New York Football Giants first. We know that Tommy DeVito is going to continue being the starting quarterback for this New York Giants team. Bobby McCain, safety, is questionable with an illness. Andrew Thomas is listed as questionable with a knee injury. Evan Neal is out. Dory Jackson has also been ruled out. He has a concussion, and we know Darren Waller was put on the IR earlier this week. And that is pretty much it for the New York Giants. For the Washington Commanders. No, not Tennessee. I need Washington. Let's see here. All right. For Washington, James Smith Williams, defensive end, is ruled out. Antonio Gibson is doubtful here tonight or today. He's dealing with a toe injury, and that's pretty much it. So Antonio Gibson, doubtful here with a toe injury. You got anything for this game?
Oh, Gibson's doubtful.
Yeah, that's what I'm seeing on the
Oh wow.
injury report
Yeah.
here.
Well,
Let me see if I can
I'll
find
stay off
something
that.
updated.
No, you good. I'll just stay off the I usually been betting Brian Robinson unders, and they've been doing well. But yeah, I like two props, one on each side. I know you took Saquon last week. This probably was the wrong week to take him. This week, perfect week to take him over 94.5 rushing and receiving yards. Washington's a little bit below average, 21st rushing yards allowed. Saquon's over this number in 4 of his last 5. Even with DeVito, he had 138 versus Washington in the first matchup. And if you look at some of the backs that are similar to what Saquon is that the Commanders have faced, they haven't fared well. Last week we seen Kenneth Walker go off 127 combined. Ramondre Stevenson had 129 combined. So I think that this sets up for a good game for Saquon. I mean, even in negative game script, they're just giving him the ball as much as possible, which I mean I can't blame him at all. So I do like him to go over this number 94.5. If you want to kind of take out the receiving aspect and just go with rushing, I think I'm fine with that as well. Or if you want to just take out the receiving yards and go with that, I'm fine with that. But obviously I like both here. So 94.5, I think he has 100 plus again on this Washington defense. And of course, man, I'm going with my guy Sam Howell, over 254.5 passing yards, 300 plus in 3 straight games. He had 249 in the last meeting on 42 attempts. So, I mean, he fell a little bit short, but I think he can get over this number. The Giants have allowed 700 passing yards to Dak and Tua. 700.
Golly.
So, How's going to throw the ball. Secondary issues for the Giants. I don't think they'll be. I think this game will be a lot closer than some people think. But I
Yeah.
just don't. I don't have the heart to bet it. So I don't see either team being in too much of a negative game script. And with that being said, I think Hal can throw the ball all over the place. And I wouldn't be surprised if Terry McLaurin has a good day. I'm pretty sure the rookie is going to be the B on him, Deontay Banks. So yeah, I like Sam Howell over passing yards, 254.5. Saquon over 94.5 rushing and receiving yards.
Looking for Sam Howell's pass attempts in this game.
Yeah.
34.5. I mean, he's last 4 weeks 44, 45, 52, 42. So again, I think that sitting here entering week 11, Lante, if I would have told you Sam Howell and CJ Stroud were your top two guys leading the league in passing yards thus far this season, you would have told me I was smoking crack.
We would have been retired if we bet that.
Yeah, but yeah, I do like his pass attempts to go over. I'm curious to see how Terry McLaurin has done.
I think he got locked up last week. Oh, not last week, but the last matchup, if I'm not mistaken. Dotson is probably a good candidate because the Giants don't have Adoree is usually the slot corner. He's out this week, right?
Yeah, he's
Yeah,
out.
so he's usually the slot corner, probably the best slot corner that we have, and he's not going to be there. So Dotson on like longest reception and receiving yards, I think that's a prime candidate as well to go over. I just try to stay away from a lot of this game, but I do like those two that I had. I think Dotson will have a good game in the slot.
Dotson. So Terry McLaurin in the game earlier this season, 6 receptions, 90 yards.
Oh, okay. Maybe I'll
And then Jahan Dotson 5 for 43.
Yeah.
Let me see what his number is for his receiving yards. Dotson's at 37.5. Terry McLaurin's at 60.5.
Is De'Ami Brown up there?
De'Ami Brown is not.
Oh yeah, well, him and Sam have a good connection. Last week they were using him a little bit more in the slot. They put Dotson on the right side, De'Ami on the left side, in the slot, and that led to that touchdown drive to, I think it was either tie or take the lead against Seattle. But yeah, De'Ami's playing a little bit bigger part in the offense. I mean, obviously they have that connection with Sam. Play with him for 2+ years at Carolina. So I'll probably look for him. His receiving yard should be super low. I think it probably closer to game time. They'll post it. It's usually around like 14.5. I even seen some like 9.5 earlier in the season. But yeah, if you just when they post that, if it's anything below 20, I think he goes over that.
All right. Anything else for this game?
That's it.
All right, let's get over to the next game. Let's go over to AFC South battle. Tennessee Titans, they are in the Sunshine State to take on the Jacksonville Jaguars. Currently, as it stands, the Jacksonville Jaguars, I think this number has come down to 6.5. Yeah, in favor of the Jacksonville Jaguars. Looking at the injury report for both of these teams, for the Titans, it will be Will Levis getting the start here for the Tennessee Titans. And then looking at some of the other injuries for this team, I am currently seeing Andre Dillard, offensive tackle, is going to be out. Sean Murphy Bunting, cornerback, is out. Treylon Burks also has been ruled out. Luke Gifford, linebacker, questionable with a shin injury. And Daniel Brunskill, offensive tackle, is also listed as questionable with an ankle injury for the Tennessee Titans. For the Jacksonville Jaguars, let's see here. Jacksonville. Parker Washington, wide receiver, is questionable. I'm pretty sure that's like a 4th or 5th string guy. Jamal Agnew, wide receiver, was placed on IR as of Saturday. Tyson Campbell, cornerback, is also listed out for this game. Zay Jones, who's dealing with a knee injury, is officially listed as questionable in this game. So possibly getting Zay Jones back here for the Jacksonville Jaguars. Lance, what do you got for this game, man?
Yeah, just one prop here. I struggle with the Tennessee side, even though I kind of wanted to take Levis because Jacksonville's pass defense is bad, but I don't know how well Levis will be able to throw the ball. I mean, he had those He started out on fire with those first few games, and he kind of came back down to earth. So, kind of trying to look and see where he's at, but he should have some success here. I guess I'll just pivot on the slide. I'll go DeAndre Hopkins over receptions and receiving yards. Do you have a number on that? I didn't write it down. I kind of was just talking myself through it.
For D-Hop, let me see. Receiving yards, 54.5.
Yes, that's too short.
And receptions, where's receptions?
Sure, 5.
D-Hop, 4.5, minus 110.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. So I like both of those. I just think the secondary of Jacksonville has been pretty much bad this year. They do have a decent front seven, but I think Tennessee, if Levis can kind of stay upright, the offense. I know they have some offensive line issues. A couple guys banged up who are probably going to play, and then a couple that are out. So yeah, I think Levis and D Hop can have a good game here. So yeah, give me over for both of those with D Hop. The one that I did have written down was Evan Ingram over 44.5 receiving yards. He's over in 2 of the last 3 games. He's getting a lot of work, 7+ receptions in 4 of his last 7 games. He had a career day versus Tennessee last year, 11 for 162, 2 touchdowns. The absence of Zay Jones and Agnew being out is only going to put more targets on him and Ridley. So I think he has a good game. Tennessee has been pretty prone to giving up plays against the tight end. So I like Evan Ingram over 44.5 receiving yards. And you said Hopkins was over 4.5 receptions and 54.5 receiving yards?
Yep.
Yeah, I like both of those as well.
I was looking at Will Levis's pass attempts to go over in this game. You mentioned it that the Jaguars' rush defense is one of the best in the league. That only going to enable these quarterbacks to throw the football. I know last week I had Brock Purdy to go over his pass attempts. Unfortunately, he didn't get there because that was a blowout game. But right now I see Will Levis pass attempts at 32.5 and completions at 20.5. I think I'm more comfortable with his pass attempts 32.5 to go over that. Last 2 games, he's at 39 pass attempts in each of those games. So expect him to be throwing the football if they are playing from behind in this game. I don't think Derrick Henry's had a lot of success against.
Yeah, he hasn't. I think his numbers around the same thing as last week when I said it was too low. I think it's like 55, 56.5.
Yeah. Well, actually, he's been pretty good. So last couple games, 159, 25 for 84, 26 for 215, 29 for 130, 17 for 121, and 30 for 109.
Okay, not bad. Not bad.
But I don't think they've had a running back that's gone over this number against the Jaguars. Well, last week he had Christian.
I don't think McCaffrey went crazy. I think Kittle was the main.
He had a pretty good game. 16 for 95 on the ground.
Okay, not bad. Not bad.
Yeah. So let me see what his number is then for Derrick Henry. 54.5. Man, I feel like that's kind of low.
Yeah, I did too. But I felt like that last week, and he didn't get there.
But he's used to seeing this team like they're in the same division. Like,
yeah, I mean, listen. I'm feeling you. I'm feeling what you said. But I got by that last week. So
1, 2, 3, 4. He's had 4 straight games of 100+ receiving yards, or sorry, rushing yards
against Jacksonville.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. Okay.
I'm just curious to see what his 100+ is. 100+ is plus 675 on Bet365.
Yeah. Fuck it.
I mean, just sprinkle a little bit on that. Plus 675 for Derrick Henry. Yeah, I think this might be the week. All right. Anything else for this game?
No, that's it.
All right. Let's get over to the Las Vegas Raiders. They are in Miami to take on the Dolphins. Currently, the Dolphins are a 13 or a 13.5 point favorite right now. I believe this number ticked back up to 13.5 for the Dolphins. Let me see if I have an update. Oh, now it's up to 14. So I guess money coming in on the Dolphins here. Checking the injury report for both of these teams for the Las Vegas Raiders. It is going to be Colton Miller, offensive tackle, is listed as questionable for this game, and that is pretty much it for the Raiders. Pretty healthy squad. For the Miami Dolphins, Dolphins, I see Alec Ingold, fullback, is questionable. Robert Jones, guard, has been ruled out. Braxton Berrios, wide receiver, is questionable with a hamstring injury. Uh, and we do see the return of Devon Achan. I always
A
butcher his
chain,
name.
A chain.
Um, A chain. Yeah. He'll be back. He is been activated off of the injured reserve for the Miami Dolphins. Lonzo, what do you got for this game, man?
Yeah, I'm going to go with both running backs for Miami. 55 and a half rushing yards for Mostert. Las Vegas is 29th in rushing yards allowed. I think both of these running backs. I don't think it'll have to be a big passing day for Tua. And if you can limit, his exposure to getting hit, of course you want to do that. I think Miami will be able to control the game, running the ball, maybe some short pass stuff with Waddle. So maybe you want to look at his Waddle's receptions. A chain over 49 and a half. Before he got injured, he was 3 straight 100-plus yard games. I think he had 4 touchdowns in that span. I was reading to try to see if he was going to be on any snap count or like limitations as far as how much work they want to give him. I didn't see anything, so I'm guessing he's going to be a full workload. So I like both these guys to go over their rushing prop 55 and a half for Mostert and 49 and a half for A Chain.
I'm curious to see what Mostert's longest rush attempt is.
Good point.
I think it's probably going to be like at 14 and a half. It's at 15 and a half. I see that. Let me see on Bet365 what that number is. Longest completion, longest reception, longest rush attempt. All right, here we go. Yeah, 15 and a half minus 105. I don't hate that. I feel like this is a game, like you mentioned, with I feel like for the Raiders in this game, like they're coming in like with a high, right? Like since Antonio Pierce took over as a head coach, they're 2-0, but it was against the two New York teams. Like you faced Tommy
Right.
DeVito and you faced Zach Wilson last week. And now you're going up against the offense that is probably going to shred you apart here. They kind of come back down to earth here. So I don't hate Dolphins. As far as some game picks here, Dolphins team total first half to go over. If you're able to find that for the Dolphins.
Yes, sir. 30 and a half, I think, is the first is the
full game.
Well, yeah, the full game. I played that earlier in the week. I thought that was too low.
Yeah.
Dolphins are a buy on team for me. I got some futures. I added some on them when the Burrow injury came down, Andrews injury came down. I think they're a prime candidate to make some noise. Now I know the thing is they haven't beat a good team or they can't beat good teams, but I mean, how many good teams do we have in the AFC outside of Baltimore and of course Kansas City?
Yeah, and again, Dolphins are a bully, man. They'll beat up against the weaker teams of the NFL. Like you mentioned, they haven't beat anybody really good, but when they have these type of teams that come into their building, they really, they lay the wood on them. So,
and they got a chance to win the division, so they'll be able to host the game.
Yeah.
And I mean, Buffalo is they're going to be looking for some revenge for Buffalo whenever they come to town. But yeah, I mean, I just think the defense is getting healthier. They got Ramsey back. They had a week off to implement, some of the things defensively that they wanted to do. So I think they're our own team.
Do you see a first half team total for the Dolphins?
I'm pretty sure it should be around like 17.
Yeah, it feels like 16 and a half. I would take the over on that.
Let me look right now.
I'm not able to find it here. Let me see.
First half. Like, did I bet? Oh yeah. They hung a bad number on here on the open. They hung 10. That's a bad number.
Let me see.
First half team total for Miami is 15 and a half. And it's like the over. It's like it's kind of spread out. I see 16 and a half. I see 14 and a half at $1.20. I see 15 and a half at $1.40. Yeah, so it's all over the place.
Yeah, I mean, I think that they put up at least 17 points or even 3 touchdowns in the first half here. So, yeah, I would look at that as far as a side or a derivative play here. Player props. I mean, yeah, I don't want to get on anything overs for this Dolphins side, just because that blowout factor may come in that fourth quarter where the starters possibly do sit here.
That's why I went with the running
Um,
backs. Yep, that's exactly why I went with the running backs.
yeah, so maybe like first half, you maybe see like Tyreek Hill get a long reception of 40 plus yards or whatever we're used to seeing from him on a almost on a weekly basis for him. So I wouldn't talk you off of that. Longest reception for Tyreek Hill.
Yeah, some books have first half props too. If you shop around, depending on what where you're located. Some people
Okay.
post first half props. I know, like on PrizePicks and Underdog, they have first half props as well. So if you want to dabble into that market.
All right. Yeah. Anything else for this game?
Nah, that's it.
All right, let's get over to Chargers. They are in Lambeau Field to take on the Packers. Packers currently are catching 3 points at home against the Chargers. A lot of injury news in this game for the LA Chargers. So let me go over to the Chargers injury report here. So there was a lot of question marks about Keenan Allen, but he is going to be a full go in this game without any restrictions. Jalen wide receiver, remains listed as questionable, but is expected to be inactive for this game. Gerald Everett, tight end, has been ruled out as well. Josh Palmer, we know that was put on the IR last week. And Mike Williams, way back when, was also lost for the season with a torn ACL. So it seems like it's going to be the Keenan Allen, Austin Eckler, and Quentin Johnson show here, at least offensively, for the LA Chargers in this game. For the home team, the Green Bay Packers. Let me see here. Packers, they are going to be without Quay Walker. Or Quay Walker is officially questionable for this game with a groin injury. Rudy Ford, safety, is doubtful with a bicep injury. Rashawn Gary, linebacker, also listed as questionable with a shoulder injury. And Jair Alexander, cornerback, is listed questionable with a shoulder injury as well. So a lot of injuries on the defensive side of the football for the Green Bay Packers here, Lante. But what are we looking at here? Keenan Allen is officially a go in this game. He will see a normal workload.
Yeah, I'm gonna look at two, one on each side. I'm gonna go with Jordan Love over 227.5 passing yards. We all know the Chargers 32nd overall in passing yards allowed. He's actually over this number in 3 straight. And he's had 40 plus attempts in 2 of those, so he's getting the volume. If you look at what some of the players have done against this Chargers defense, I mean, Goff 333, Zach Wilson threw for 263. Bagnett, or for whoever would for Chicago, 232. Mahomes 400, Dak 272. Now, of course, I think Jordan Love somewhere in the middle of all those guys, so I think he can get 240 plus here. So I like him to go over this passing yards, and I wouldn't be surprised if we see a big game from Christian Watson here. So if you want to look at Christian Watson, anytime touchdown score, I know we'll get into that. Longest reception, I think it's a big Christian Watson day. On the other side, I'm going with Eckler, over 55.5 rushing yards. Now, he hasn't eclipsed this in his last 3 games, but if you look at the Green Bay defense, they're 27th in rush defense. Warren and Harris combined for Pittsburgh combined for 183 yards last week. Javonte Williams had 80 plus. Josh Jacobs had 60 plus. So they're giving it up on the ground. And I do think, even though Keenan will play, I know he's tough, but I think they'll try to lean on the ground game a little bit more to get Eckler going. And I wouldn't even hate Joshua Kelly prop to go over as well, rushing yards, because they do sprinkle him in a lot more than what fantasy owners of Austin Eckler like myself would want. But hey, if we can make some money back in it, I think we're gonna get a good rushing attack from Eckler and Josh Kelly here today. So Eckler over 55.5 rushing yards, Jordan Love over 227.5 passing yards.
Yeah, I took Eckler over on his rush attempts in this game. You take a look at what running backs, like you mentioned, have been able to do against the Packers. Teams are averaging close to 26 rush attempts per game against this Packers rushing defense, or lack thereof. Javonte Williams, 15 for 82, week 7. And then a couple weeks ago, Jordan Madison despite him not having a great game on the ground, they still fed the ball to him 16 times. Royce Freeman and Darrell Henderson Jr. combined for 22 rush attempts. And then last week against the Steelers, Najee Harris had 16 for 82, and Jalen Warren had 15 for 101. So I expect the workload definitely to be there for Austin Eckler in this game. Can't talk you off of Keenan Allen props ever. The targets are always going to be there for him. The receptions are always going to be there for him as well. So I do like Keenan Allen on his receptions. I'm trying to find that number for.
Oh, it's got to be
Allen.
high. 7.5. Got to be.
Yeah, at minimum. Yeah, it's a 7.5 at even money.
Yeah.
For him and his receiving yards. Let me see if I can find that.
I think he was at 83.5 when I looked.
For Keenan Allen.
Yeah, I think he was at 83.5. Double check though. This was earlier in the week when I was like kind of jotting down something.
Yeah,
like
he's
that.
up to 86.5.
Yeah, okay. I know he opened 83.5 though.
Yeah, longest reception for him. He's low key been catching those long passes. 24.5. The market has caught up on that, but last couple of weeks, 38, 23, 26, 26, 23 as far as long reception. So that number's right there at 24.5. So yeah, it should be a big Austin Eckler game in this matchup against the Packers for Austin Eckler of the Los Angeles Chargers. Anything else for this game?
That's it.
All right, let's get over to the Dallas Cowboys. They are in Carolina to take on the Panthers. Currently, they are sitting as a 10.5-point favorite in this game. Injury report for both of these teams. For the Dallas Cowboys, I am seeing nothing really. Rico Dowdle.
Oh wow, he's on the injury report.
Yeah, he's been downgraded to questionable.
Oh wow.
For the Dallas Cowboys, and then for the Carolina Panthers, Ian Thomas, tight end, activated from the IR. Xavier Woods, safety, is listed as questionable. He has a thigh injury. Steven Sullivan, tight end, shoulder injury. J.C. Horn is going to be out for this game. C.J. Henderson has been listed out for this game. Laviska Shenault was a full participant on Friday, but is listed as questionable for this game. And Hayden Hurst has been ruled out. He is dealing with a concussion. So two of their top cornerbacks are going to be out for this game. Xavier Woods, safety, is officially listed as questionable. And then you're going to have Hayden Hurst, tight end, is out. And then Laviska Shenault should be a go since he was a full participant at practice on Friday for the Carolina Panthers. Obviously here, Lante, the conversation for the player prop starts with CeeDee Lamb. You and I have been talking about this over the past several weeks, but he's been a target machine over the last 3 weeks for the Dallas Cowboys. I think it finally clicked to them to get our best receiver the football. Last 2 weeks, he's had 44 targets. That has translated to 34 receptions, 150 plus receiving yards in 3 straight games. He's had at least 110 receiving yards in 4 straight games for the Dallas Cowboys. And I did see a tweet. I sent this to you last night that they wanted to get Tony Pollard more involved in this game. So right now I do see CeeDee Lamb at, I believe it was 81.5 when I got it for his receiving prop. But why don't you take us to yours and I'll look at that number up in the meantime.
Yeah, I mean, you led me perfect. I like Pollard over, was it 65.5 rushing yards? The Panthers are 26th overall in rush defense. They actually play well against the pass. So I was looking at Dak under, but then again, I thought about it and I'm like, the Cowboys, they like the bully team. So if they can put up 40 plus, they're probably going to try to put up 40 plus. So I kind of shied away from that. So I like Pollard. I mean, like you mentioned, Lamb in that game plan was saying that, they've got the pass game down pat. So they want to get Tony Pollard going and get him some confidence. He's been struggling as of late. Even in the passing game, he hasn't been effective. So I think he has a big day today. If you want to look at his rush plus receiving yards, I don't hate that at all. I'm going to kind of go with the rushing yards, thinking that if it's out of hand, they kind of just hand it off. And I was looking at Rico Dowd to go over 26.5 rushing yards, thinking that he'll be sprinkled in a lot more if it's a blowout. But now that he's questionable, I kind of can't get away. I got to get away from that. So just officially, I'll just be playing Tony Pollard over his rushing yards.
All right. Yeah, I'll probably get there with Tony Pollard with you in this game. Like you mentioned, I think anytime we really do see um players come out and say, "Hey, this guy's going to be
Mhm.
involved," that usually does come into fruition. So yeah, I'll be on the with Tony Pollard with you there. But other than that, I really didn't have anything. Adam Thielen train has kind of cooled off, but I think
Yeah.
that if we're looking at a game script wise, that if they are trailing this game, they're going to have to throw the football. The receptions have been there for him, but the yardage hasn't been there.
Yeah.
Curious to see if that's at 4.5. I think I got to get back on his receptions here, but let's see.
Oh yeah, I would go over for Bryce Young rushing yards. He's been using his legs a lot last few weeks actually. I think that number is usually like around like 10 and a half, 12 and a half.
It's still at 10.5.
Yeah, I like that over. I love that over actually. That pass rush is going to
Um,
be like coming at him all day long.
uh, player rushing yards. Yeah, still at 10.5. Let's just quickly look up what he's done over the past several weeks here. On the ground, we still have 4 more games to get to. Let's see, scrimmage. 18, 41, and 11 over the last 3 weeks for Bryce Young. So yeah, I'll probably get there with you that on that as well. Bryce Young over 10.5 rushing yards in this game. All right, next game on the board. Let's go over to the later starts. Let's go over San Francisco. They are hosting the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Currently, the 49ers who are all the way out to, I want to say it was 13 the last time I
Mhm.
saw this number.
Yep.
Yeah, it's started up to 13.5 now. Total of sitting at 42 in this game. Looking at the injury report for both of these teams, start here with the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Let's see. For the Buccaneers, they are going to be a couple of questionable tags here in on the defensive side. So Carlton Davis, the third toe questionable, and then Devin White, linebacker, is officially listed as questionable. He's also dealing with a toe injury as well. Ryan Neal, safety, has been ruled out. He has a thumb injury. That is pretty much it. For the San Francisco 49ers here, Lante, pretty clean, man. Nobody of significance. So they're a healthy squad coming off of the bye week last week, or prior to last week, where they took care of business against the Jacksonville Jaguars. So they are looking to get back on to their winning ways, like they were prior to that 3-game losing streak they had. They did take care of business last week against the Jacksonville Jaguars, 34-3. Player props in this game. What are you looking at?
Yeah, just a few. I'm looking at Mike Evans over 55 and a half receiving yards. I think that's a little bit short. He's over this number 3 of his last 4. He's also scored a touchdown in 3 of those 4 games as well. So if you want to look at him for anytime or first touchdown score, I think he's a good candidate. The San Francisco corners, they wanted to get corner help at the trade deadline, didn't really get it. So that's a area of concern. John Lynch even came out with saying they were trying to get a corner. I think they were going to get the guy from Chicago. I forgot his name, but he's pretty good. But Chicago wasn't biting on that. But nonetheless, I think Mike Evans can have a good day against his secondary. I'm going back to the train, man. I'm going Brock Purdy over 258 and a half passing yards. Tampa Bay's 31st in passing yards allowed. I mean, we saw what your Texans did to him. We saw what other teams have done to them. Like I forgot. There's a couple other a couple other teams with kind of mediocre quarterbacks who had good days against them. He's over this number in 4 straight. He's at 29 attempts in that span. I think that Shanahan's making a concerted effort to kind of maybe his confidence wasn't low, but he was missing 3 key pieces on the offense. So I think he's kind of getting Purdy back in that mode to get him some confidence. So I think he'll be able to throw the ball here a lot. So over 258 and a half passing yards for Purdy. Mike Evans over 55 and a half receiving yards.
Jared Goff 353, Desmond Ritter 250, Josh Allen 324,
There we
CJ
go.
Stroud 470, and then last week Will Levis 19 of 39 only had 199
Yeah,
passing
that was the
yards. But
exception. Yeah.
yeah, so I'm there with you. CMC in his career against the Buccaneers has been not too bad.
Yeah, but he was
Um,
playing with the Panthers on most of those though, so
Yeah. So last season did face the Buccaneers team back in December. He had 14 carries for 119 yards and then two receptions for 34 yards. So I think I want to get back on the train of receiving yards for CMC. Last week, let's see. Tajay Spears had 4 receptions for 42 yards. I want to see what his number is this week for
Oh, I like Tajay Spears. Yeah.
Christian McCaffrey. 31.5. I don't hate that. I'll look over at that. I'm gonna go back to my guy on the Buccaneers side, man. Rachaad White over 24.5 receiving yards. You're not gonna have a chance to run against this 49ers front rush defense as well. But if you kind of just take a look at what Rachaad White has done in the passing game for this Buccaneers team, last 4 weeks, 65 receiving yards, 70 receiving yards, 46 receiving yards, and 47. He's also making the most of it, right? So if you also want to look at longest reception for Rachaad White, last 4 weeks, 22, 20, 33, and 43. I'll try to see quickly here if I can find that number for his longest reception. Rachaad White's at 11.5, so give me the over on that for sure. In that game or in this game. Anything else?
Nope, that's it.
All right, let's get over to the Seattle Seahawks. They are visiting the LA Rams. Rams are out to, I believe last time I saw was 2 or 2.5 for the Rams. Let's see here. Updated number. Oh, it's down to 1.5. Total of 47 in this game. Looking at the injury report here, let's start here with the Seattle Seahawks. Seahawks are going to be a questionable tag on Tyler Lockett. He's dealing with a hamstring injury, but he is expected to play in this game against the Rams. Trey Brown questionable with a foot injury. Jamal Adams, safety, questionable with a knee injury against the Rams. And then Abraham Lucas, offensive tackle, is questionable, but isn't expected to play. He is coming off the IR for the Seattle Seahawks. For the Los Angeles Rams, Matthew Stafford will return as a starting quarterback for this team. He was dealing with that right thumb injury, but he is a full go in this game. Other than that, pretty clean for the Los Angeles Rams. Player props in this game here, Lonte. What are you looking at?
Yeah, I'm looking at both Stafford and Kupp. I'm looking for passing yards, 252.5 for Stafford. He had 334 versus Seattle in week 1 without Kupp. And I think Kupp has a bounce back game. He's over 81.5. Puka had 10 for 119 in game 1 in week 1. Atwell had 6 for 119. So Kupp should feast on the secondary with Stafford back. So I like both of those guys to go over. Pretty plain and simple. I don't think Seattle's pass defense is that good right now. So yeah, give me Stafford over 252.5, Kupp over 81.5.
Yeah, I was just kind of waiting for that Cup game.
This is
number
it.
I think this has to be it, right? I'm trying to find longest completion for Matthew Stafford. But I don't think I don't see it right now. But nonetheless, I think that he'll be able to get at least a big play down the field for the Rams here. So yeah, I'm with you. I think it's I'll look at Puka Nacua and also Cooper Kupp in this game. I think both of those guys have big games here against the Seahawks. Didn't have anything for the Seahawks side. Probably DK Metcalf longest reception. I think that has been pretty profitable this season. I know last week he had, or the week prior, he had a 50-yard reception. Let's see here.
36.5 for Stafford, longest reception. Longest completion.
Yeah. So he had 50 against the Ravens and then 27 last week. Did DK Metcalf? You said what was it for the Stafford?
36.5. That's his longest reception. His
longest completion.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I don't hate that. I think that he'll be able to find either Cooper Kupp or Puka Nacua down the field.
Yes, sir.
Do you see DK Metcalf longest reception?
Yes, I do.
It's probably 24.5. I had to guess.
It is 23.5. Let me make sure. Well, it's painted 23.5 everywhere.
Yeah, so it's the last 4 weeks he's gone over this number 30, 43, 50, and 27. I just want to see how he's done against DK Metcalf versus the Rams.
Yeah, some of those were with Ramsey, so kind of I was looking at him too, but I couldn't get a good feel for how he would do.
Yeah,
127 maybe in the slot. Maybe he has a good day, especially if Lockett. He's gonna play, but he's probably banged up a little bit.
Yeah. All right. Yeah, I'm not gonna force it with the Seahawks side. Yeah, Lockett hasn't been very good either. All right. Yeah, we'll just stick with the Cooper Cupps and the Matthew Staffords in this game. All right. Next game we have. I think we have two more games left here. Let me see. What's the other West Coast game? I think that was
Yeah, we got Buffalo. We
Jets
got
and Bills.
Buffalo. Yeah, Buffalo and yeah.
Yeah. All right. So New York Jets, they are in Buffalo. Buffalo currently sitting as a 7 to 7.5 point favorite in this game. Currently on Bet365, they're a 7.5 point favorite. Total of 39.5. Do want to check the weather in this game for the Buffalo Bills. So 37 degrees, 15 miles per hour winds in the northwest direction. This is a rematch of what we saw in week one, where we saw Aaron Rodgers go down and the Jets were able to pull it off. But I mean, again, we talked about this last week, Lante, that, and we also talked about this on the Monday Night Football pod, was that these two games for the Bills were going to be very important against the Broncos and the Jets, because the schedule of games that they have coming up, it's a very difficult, it's murderer's row pretty much, because they go to Philly, they go to Kansas City, they welcome Dallas, and they have the Chargers in LA. So some quality opponents in there. But again, this is a big game here today for the Buffalo Bills. So let's start with the injury report here. I'll start here with the New York Football Jets. Jets are gonna be without, no without, but a couple of questionable tags here. Michael Carter, the second cornerback, is listed as questionable, and then with a hamstring issue, and then Garrett Wilson, wide receiver, elbow, remains questionable, but is on track to play against the Buffalo Bills. For the Bills side, I am seeing Jordan Phillips, defensive tackle, is questionable with a knee injury. Trent Sherfield, wide receiver, is listed questionable with an ankle injury. Matt Milano, linebacker, Coach McDermott said Friday he doesn't believe he has a chance to return from the IR this season. So some not so good news for Matt Milano. Other than that, pretty clean. I know we already talked about all the injuries that they have in the secondary. All right. What do we got for this game here, Lante?
Yeah, man, I'm going back to the same thing that I mentioned with the Rams. I'm going with Allen over 241.5 passing yards. I think it's a big bounce back game. Loading. I love all the quotes I'm hearing from everybody, all the players out of Buffalo. They're basically taking it hard to Ken Dorsey firing. He was Josh Allen's guy's quarterback coach whenever Dayball was there. A lot of guys saying that they're to blame for him getting fired. I just think that they're going to have, this is a must-win game for them. They have to have this one. Joe Brady's going to be calling the plays. Some people are unfamiliar with Joe Brady. He was the offensive coordinator for LSU when they had, he had the Joe Burrow, Jamar Chase, Clyde Edwards-Helaire, Justin Jefferson team, and then he went to Carolina. He wasn't bad. He was just kind of underwhelming from what people thought he was going to be. So he's getting a step up here to call some plays. So I think that he's going to allow Josh Allen to use his legs more. And I think that opens up the passing game. He's over this number in 3 of his last 4. He had 236 in week 1, but as we've seen, he was kind of off in that. So I think he has a big effort here. If you want to take him pass plus rush yards combined, I don't hate that either. But 241.5 passing yards, I think it's completely low. Diggs over a 75.5. I think that's low too. If you want to ladder it up to 100, he had 10 for 163 and a touchdown in a week 1 matchup, targeted 13 times. He also was non-existent last week, 3 for 34. So I think he's going to make a concerted effort to get him the ball, regardless if Sauce is on him. Sauce didn't travel a ton with him. He kind of like plays that Richard Sherman role in the Robert Saleh defense. He kind of just plays one side. So it's kind of hard to, have him follow Stephon Diggs, because they'll put Stephon Diggs in the slot. They'll put him, out wide in the left or the right side. So I do think Diggs has a big game here. And one more for the Jets. I'm going to go with Zach Wilson over 14.5 rushing yards. He's been using his legs a whole lot more. Yep. He's over in 4 of his last 5 games, and he had 14 exactly in another. 4 rushes in 3 of his last 4 games. Garrett Wilson banged up. That's usually his first and only read, to be honest. So once Garrett Wilson's not there, I'm pretty sure he's going to try to take off and run. So I do like Zach Wilson over 14.5 rushing yards as well.
6, 24, and 24 in his career against the Buffalo Bills as far as rushing the football for Zach Wilson. I think this might be the only time you get Stephon Diggs at plus money for his receptions. That's
Yes,
at
sir.
6.5 at plus
Yes,
110. So
sir.
you have to take that, especially with the tweets that his brother was putting out, talking about free my guy Stephon Diggs or whatever the case was. But I mean, like you mentioned, like if these players are taking it to heart, that I think you got to go back to a reliable connection between Josh Allen, and Stephon Diggs in this game, right? So
Yes,
six and a
sir.
half at plus 110. I'll take that to the bank. Um, if you find a 23.5 on their team total, I know the Jets have a pretty good defense, but again, if there's a ultimate get up spot for the Buffalo Bills, like this is it, right? Like you're
Gotta be.
avenging a week one Monday Night Football loss. Your offensive coordinator got fired. You lost on Monday Night Football against Mr. Unlimited, and if you look at what, like I mentioned, the schedule coming up for the Buffalo Bills, like it's tough when you're going up against two teams that made it to the Super Bowl last year, and they're both on the road. So you have to get this game, and this is a division game. So it couldn't be any more. The stakes going to be any higher for this Buffalo Bills team here tonight. So, yeah, Bills minus 7.5. You were to look at a side for this game. If you're able to find a 23.5 on their team total to go over, I do like that as well. But again, Stephon Diggs, Josh Allen should be a go, or should be the bright spots and the stars shining in this game for the Buffalo Bills.
Yes, sir. I got them
All
in
right,
so
last
many teasers. It's crazy.
Oh yeah. All right, last game on the board, the Sunday night football game. We got the Minnesota Vikings. They are in the Mile High City to take on the Denver Broncos. Broncos currently sitting as a 2.5 point favorite at home, total of 41.5. Courtesy of our friends over on Bet365. Looking at the weather in this game, 43%, 48% chance of rain in this game, with 49 degrees temperature. Wind is not a concern in this game, but we will see some showers in this game. Looking at the injury report for this game, let's go with the Minnesota Vikings. Justin Jefferson will not be playing in this game. Alexander Madison, who was in concussion protocol, remains listed as questionable, but is expected to play tonight against the Broncos. And that is pretty much it. Pretty clean injury report. Or I'm sorry, Evans cornerback is listed out, and then obviously no one, Jaron Hall questionable. Out with a concussion. The second string quarterback they had for the Minnesota Vikings, but it's going to be the Josh Dobbs show again for the Minnesota Vikings. For the Denver Broncos on their injury report, pretty clean for them as well. PJ Locke, safety, is only one that's been ruled out with an ankle injury. But hey, looks like the Denver Broncos may have found something here over the past several weeks here, Lante. They have won 3 games in a row against Buffalo, the Chiefs, and the Green Bay Packers. So looks like Mr. Unlimited is making a return here for the Denver Broncos, and Sean Payton has looked pretty good as well. All right, what are we looking at as far as player props in this game?
I'm gonna be honest. I don't have anything. I don't know what to expect from the Minnesota side. Madison, kind of being banged up. They don't have any running backs at all. Akers is hurt. I think I was going to be looking at the rookie Ty Chandler to get some run, but I didn't know Madison was going to be ruled in. So that kind of took away my glory there. And on the weather, I'm pretty sure Javonte is going to get the ball a ton, but they kind of raised his carries up from 12.5 last week. I think we both were on that to I think he's at 14.5, 15.5 right now. I can still see him going over, but it's kind of juice. It's like $1.30, so I wouldn't take it there. But I don't have much on this game. Maybe you could steer me in a direction.
I think the only one that I was looking at was Josh Dobbs rushing yards. I mean, that's been a cash cow ever since he's been not only the starting quarterback for the Minnesota Vikings, but also his days with the Arizona Cardinals. The 2 games are the one game that he came in against the Falcons, I believe, 7 carries for 66 yards. And then last week against the Saints, he had 8 attempts for 44 yards. So over the last, and this goes back all the way to the time he was with the Cardinals. So the last 5 games has actually played, and he's had at least 7 rush attempts in 4 of those 5 games. The other one, he had 6. I think that number I saw was at 28.5 or 29.5 for Josh Dobbs on his rushing yards. Let me see if I can find an updated number here real quick. Josh Dobbs rushing yards. I see 34.5 now.
That's
So
a lot, bro. That's what I was looking at too. That's a lot.
yeah, I was
But I
like,
mean, he's gonna
damn.
have to because one wrong hit, Madison could be out.
Yeah.
So
Let me see what quickly quarterbacks have done against the Broncos. I know Josh Allen hasn't really been running last week. Yeah, that number just hasn't been there. So I give the market has caught up on Josh Dobbs. But again, I wouldn't be surprised if he does get into that realm of 40 to 50 here for the I was gonna say Cardinals, but for the Minnesota Vikings. So that was the only one I was really looking at in this game. We gotta go back to our guy TJ Hawk, right? I don't understand why his number is so low
Man,
for
he burned
Hawkinson.
me last week. You remember we were talking about him? There were
I thought he had a
reports
big
that
game last week.
no, he did. But remember, there were reports out that were showing that
Oh
he was
yeah,
going to be
yeah, yeah.
limited. I took his under.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, they were it was like, and it was beat reporters and actual people who cover NFL that were saying this. So it wasn't like it was just just random people, but these were like legit reports. And he goes out and he has the fucking game of his life.
11 receptions, 15
Yeah,
targets, 134 yards and a touchdown. So
right.
I did go back to TJ Hawkinson in this game, but it also goes back to Josh Dobbs, right? Like even in the days when he was with the Arizona Cardinals, that he loves his tight ends, right? And we
Yeah.
mentioned, I think, he had with Zach Ertz and Trey
Mhm.
McBride, they're 40 plus targets each for those guys. Over the last 2 weeks for TJ Hawkinson, 27 targets total, 18 receptions off of those 2 games, 69 receiving yards and 134 last week, like we mentioned. And then this week, his number is at 56 and a half. So, and he's gone over this number in 4 straight weeks, 86, 88, 69, and 134. And I believe the Denver Broncos are pretty good against the tight end position, but it just seems like that he has some really good chemistry with already a TJ Hawkinson. Opposing tight ends are averaging 69 receiving yards nice against the Denver Broncos this season. So I'm going to be back on the TJ Hawkinson train. So this might be the week where he has 1 reception for 7 yards.
I won't be betting against it. I lost last week.
All right, Lante, let's put together our anytime touchdown parlay for this week, and then we'll put together our PrizePicks entry to wrap up the show here. So, all right, what are we looking at for touchdown scores in this week?
Let's see. I'm looking at. Let's see the
Damn, I was
first
going
guy.
to say Pollard, but he's already at minus 130.
Oh yeah, I'm trying to find plus money. What about Pickens? George Pickens?
Pickens, let me just do a control find here. That's
I think
easier.
Pickens has a big day.
Plus 310.
Yep, love it.
All right. Let's see here. I'm gonna go with Hawk, man. If that's at plus money, like he's been the man. Plus 215 for TJ Hawkinson. There's our tight end.
Yeah.
What else?
Who's higher? Mostert or A-Chain?
It's probably Asian. Let me see. Yeah, he's plus 110. Moster's minus 145.
Yeah. What about Saquon?
Saquads. Barkley plus 120.
Damn it. I'm trying to find some like not
Dotson
what is Dotson? What is Dotson?
plus 250.
Yeah, I like Dotson.
All right. Throw that one in there, and then I gotta go to the Texans game. Trey McBride plus 205.
Yeah, I love that. I love Trey McBride today. Yep.
All right, so those 4 players will get you 136 to 1. So George Pickens plus 310, TJ Hawkinson plus 215, Jahan Dotson plus 250, and Trey McBride plus 205. Anytime touchdown scores will get you 136 to 1 this week. All right, let's put together our PrizePicks entries before we wrap it up here. Let's see. Let me get over to PrizePicks. Again, go to prizepicks.com/SGPN. If you haven't already, signed up with an account with PrizePicks. They are going to match 100% deposit bonus of up to $100. But make sure you use that promo code SGPN, and you'll get that bonus courtesy of PrizePicks. And again, come play along with us over on PrizePicks. All right, Lante, I am going to start this with Sam Howell on his pass attempts to go more than 35. So that'll be my first one. What do you like as your favorite player prop?
One of my favorite ones is going to be, damn it, I'm trying to, Evan Ingram, 44. Is he at 44 and a half?
I gotta go to the receiving yards category. Let's see. Evan Ingram. Ingram is projected at 45 and a half. You want to go more than on that?
Yeah. Give me more than that.
All right, and then let's throw in one more. think you wanted Barkley. You liked his rushing yards or his receiving yards?
I like both. To be
Okay,
honest
let's
with
see if
you,
we can find if they have a category for rushing and receiving.
yeah, they do. It should be all the way at the end.
Yeah. All right. Barkley. 95.5 is the number.
Yeah, that's cool. I like over that.
All right, so let's go. Sam Howell, more than 35 pass attempts. Evan Ingram, more than 45.5 receiving yards. Saquon Barkley, more than 95.5 rushing and receiving.
You want to throw one more up there?
Yeah, let's throw one more in.
I like Pickens, man. Look, I'll tell you the two that I like the most. I like Pickens to go over, and I like
What about
Diggs,
Eckler?
man. Oh yeah, Eckler. Yeah, I like Eckler too. Yeah, he's in
On
my top
his,
three.
you want to do rush attempts or his rushing yards?
I would rather go with his rush yards because I
All
think
right.
Kelly steals some carries from him.
Okay. 56.5.
Yeah, that's perfect.
All right.
That's what I have him lined up. Yep.
Yeah. All right. So we'll throw that one in there as well. So Austin Eckler, more than 56.5 rush yards. Saquon Barkley, rushing and receiving combined, more than 95.5. And then Evan Ingram, more than 45.5 receiving yards. And Sam Howell, more than 35 pass attempts. That $100 entry will get you a nice $500. So again, make sure you go to prizepicks.com/SGPN. If you haven't already signed up for an account, make sure get yourself an account and make sure you use that promo code SGPN. They will match your first deposit of 100% up to $100. Again, prizepicks.com using code SGPN. All right, Lance, we went longer than we usually do here, hour 17 here on our pregame show here. I think the fantasy guys should be live for their show, so make sure to check them out over on the fantasy football YouTube channel. But anything else you want to mention, my man, before we get out of here?
No, man. Best of luck to everybody. Hopefully we've been killing. I think we've been killing it. Look, I've been saying. I know I've been texting you for like the past 4 weeks, saying I'm gonna compile a spreadsheet. But once we get off of here, you kind of start looking at the bets and try to put some more in, seeing where the money is. It's kind of hard for me to go back and log it in. But this week I'm gonna do it and I'm gonna tweet it out. So just make sure you just send me your list and I'm gonna do it today, and I'll get it tweeted out by the end of today.
All right. Yeah, we've been doing pretty good on those, so hopefully we can carry that into week 11 here. Again, a lot of great matchups here on the week 11 schedule in the NFL. So again, bet responsibly, enjoy the games, and hopefully we put some more money in your guys' pockets. Again, before you guys get out of here, smash that like button for us. And if you haven't already subscribed to the NFL Gambling Podcast YouTube channel, make sure you go ahead and do that. And then also please leave us a rating and review wherever you do get your podcast, whether that's Apple Podcasts or Spotify. Hopefully it's a 5-star review that you guys do give us. All right, we'll be back next week for NFL Week 12. If you haven't already listened to the Monday Night Football pod between myself and Lante, we have the Super Bowl rematch. That pod should be out as well. So again, head over to the Fantasy Football Podcast right now, or their pregame show. They'll answer all your start and sit questions for this week. Make sure to follow Lante on Twitter /X. That's at XXLanteXX. You can follow me on Twitter /X at SportsNerd824. Till then, good luck with your bets. Let's break these books off and let it ride.